Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the second episode of The Last of Us TV show on HBO Max that has just aired hours ago. I'm going to give a quick recap of the episode. I'm going to talk what I like about this episode, what I didn't like, how they adapted from the video game, and just sum it up at the end. So, to recap this episode, they give us a glimpse. In this episode, I don't believe it's in the game, but in this episode, they give us a glimpse or where this infection has started, where it's originated from. From Indonesia in 2003, like it shows in the episode, and they go to a fungi scientist and bring her to see this patient, dead patient, of course, and they ask her about this fungi cordyceps, and she tells them she sees the specimens, and she tells them there's no way the cordyceps can grow in a human body. But she sees the patient, she sees the capillaries going from his mouth, and she comes to the realization that it is happening and it is catastrophic. So they talk to her and they give her the brief of what happened, how people getting bit and being crazy like and attacking other people, like calm and normal people going crazy. And they ask her, is there a cure? She basically says, no, you have to bomb. You have to bomb this whole city, this whole town. You have to bomb it. And it ends. Now, after that, we continue with the story from the previous episode. Tess, Joel, and Ellie going along, and basically them not trusting her with her infection. Like, she tells them she got bitten and she's immune, but they don't trust her. They are cautious. They just like standing there and staring at her with, especially Joel with his gun, and that's the basic premise of this one. And Joel and Ellie getting to know each other in an awkward way. So in this episode, this is a quick recap. So in this episode, we get introduced to our first enemy. The first enemy, the Clickers. What I like about this episode, is they show a video game mechanics being adapted, not just the story being adapted. Like them going through how they go through a path, and there's a path is like closed, they need to go, and some character especially they help me, like when he puts his hand down and Tess or Ellie climbs on his hand and goes over something, anything, a wall or anything, they show that and they're like, hey, give me a hand, and Joel puts his hand and Tess puts her foot on it and he helps her to elevate. Like, I know it's small things, but they are showing video game mechanics in the game. And there's a line between Ellie and Joel say, hey, I'm small enough to go through there. Tess says, no, that's exactly in the game. And it's part of the game with Sam and his brother. So this what I like about it. The other thing that I like about it is how they show that these infected have sometimes some kind of hive mind. They are connected. Like these things that grow, the fungi grows out of them into the ground, like roots of a tree. And if you like touch one of these roots, everyone gets alerted. They know where you are. This is also added in the show, not in the game, which is really makes it especially for hordes. Great spectacle for hordes and great logic for the game to up the ante and up the danger of it. This is a second thing I really like about the game, the show adapting from the game. Third thing is the first enemy, which is the Clickers. Our introduction is, again, they are doing basically like the video games. Like, hey, we're getting introduced to this enemy. Then we're getting introduced to more dangerous enemy, and more. They doing this route, going this route, and this one, the Clickers, like it was tense, it was horror-like, it was fantastic in every way, and exactly like the games. Like you shoot it 1, 2, 3. Unless you shoot it in the head, then that's the good news. You shoot it in the head, and that's it. And they adapt the Clickers way better the same and way better than the game, making even greater threat than the game. So this is the third thing about this one that I really like. The thing that I don't like about this one, not don't like, that's just I like it less, is the way they test the whole scene. We all know how, again, we get introduced to the first character that we lose is Tess. But there is difference between video game and show. We knew Tess for a little time, just the end or half of first episode and this episode, but we didn't know her a lot. Like, we didn't spend much time with her. In the video game, we get to play with her as next to her gameplay, as like it takes hours before we get to lose her. And they use the same location from the game, the same in the show, but the way it's done in the video game for me is more impactful than it's done in the show. I get it, like yeah, we need to make it more emotional, but I think they missed the mark on this one, not by much, by a little. But the way I remember it from playing the video game, the even the acting, they all also use the same lines from, not the same, but more or less the same lines from the video game. But for me, it seemed more impactful in the video game than the show. But this does not make it unemotional or unimpactful for a show. Of course, there are a lot of people that just watch the show. Yeah, that's another thing. And there's a little thing, another thing that I liked about it is the awkwardness and how it develops between Joel and Ellie. We find it like in the subtle moments, silent moments, when Tess goes to find a way to open the door and they get interact with each other. And the last thing is they introduced a little weird thing, which is when Tess spoiler alert, she tries, like, tells them, hey, you should go, I'm infected, I'm gonna save you. She spills all this gas, and she tries to light the lighter, doesn't light, and these infected come over, and these capillaries coming out of their mouth, and they just like kiss her, maybe. So is it a way now infecting people? Is this the way to infect people? Like kissing her, the capillaries going from one mouth to another. I don't. This seemed weird to me, and to be honest, unnecessary. Like we all know the infected. The only way to get infecting someone else is just bite them, which is not to say it's bad way. Yeah, all the games does that, but it's not a bad way. It's always dependent on these enemies, like the first stages of infection, then going over to clickers, and then we can introduce the more dangerous enemies. But this seemed a little weird to me. So to sum it up, they adapted the video game and went their own way with it artistically. They adapted the same thing from the game, the world, the lore, the characters, and did just enough to put their print on it, put their twist on it, and their artistic experience into it. So to sum it all, it's amazing. With all these, like, I'm just nitpicking on it, to be honest, but the adaptation is perfect, the best adaptation so far for a video game. We don't know. Let's see how it progresses, but I have a sense that it's going to be way better and better. But for me, the only thing I needed to see more of is Tess. I wish we had spent more time with her to get to know her better. That's it. So this is my honest opinion on all of this. I hope you enjoy this. Don't forget to subscribe and like. See you in the next one.